the most important thing to remember as you practice this etude is that you have two voices, right? The bass voice is played by the thumb for the most part, and everything else is played on top by the fingers. So a lot happens in the first phrase, right? So you got this melody. Right? Follow the fingerings on the left hand. Those are very useful. Now, if we put it together, the second voice on top should be a little bit on the quieter side, right? A lot happened on both hands, on left hand and right hand, right? So on the right hand, what I was doing, I was muting quite a bit of notes, right? So as I play, right, the D goes to the G. So I come in and I mute with the side of my thumb. Do you notice that I came in with my middle finger to mute the B string? Right, because the B is going to go to the A, right? Right, on the left hand, I'm going to prepare to move my finger, my second finger, quite a bit. Right, I'm grabbing that A with one, right, and then one is displaced over to the second string, first position, right, then 3, 2 and 4. Now here, the pinky is going to move quite a bit, right? Pinky grabs the C, and the reason why we want to hold the pinky there is because you're going to remain on the 5th string with your pinky. Then jump back over, 2 and 1, and then, like I said before, 2 is moving quite a bit. Then you repeat that same phrase, right? 1, change, right? Open A, and then you're going to move back in. 1 and 3. Why? Because 2 is going to grab the D string after that. But let's take a look at that change that we have on measure 6, right? You're going to jump over here. F sharp with 3. Stay there with the F sharp, 1 for the C. And then you're going to have to turn your hand around. Grab the B with your pinky. Then you bring your pinky upstairs for the F sharp, 2 for the C, and 1 comes around, grabs the B bass, and open B. Right? Before we move on, let's just play through that, starting on measure 5. Now we're going to jump over to 7th position, right? Set yourself up so your pinky is on the A bass to grab the G. Your ring finger is going to grab the B on the 10th and 9th fret respectively. Then a bar. Then the 2 is going to grab the G on the 8th fret. And then your bar has the B, right? And then 2, notice that I kept my 2 there. I should have kept also my 3 there because I'm going to use those back to form that E minor chord. Right, well, with a D on top. I guess it would be a B chord. And then I'm going to try to keep everything where it is, right? Chords, the way that chords work, buddy, is that you try not to jump too far away from where you are because chances are what's coming up next is related to what you have. And take a look. Right? So everything there in the bar. 2 and 3 stay there. 3 scoots over to grab a C, 2 gives way for the F sharp, and by the way, as you give way to the F sharp, you bring 2 downstairs to do that pull off from the pinky finger over to the second finger, right? A little difficult, quite difficult perhaps. Then pinky, 4, 2, 1 in the bar, and then the D's in the bar, right? So that section is quite difficult. And then you're going to have the F sharp there. And then you have to move your pinky quite fast, unless you want to do something like this. And you go back. Right? This is very interesting how he wrote this, because you have a D here on the G string, and the next D should be on the second position. Right? But before we go back to this, you know, it's quite tricky getting into through measure 9 all the way through measure 12. It's an area that I would put in brackets to practice just technically, because of how much movement you have in the left hand and you're holding a bar. Relax your hand with that open D, and then you're going to jump right back into this. I would just bring my pinky downstairs, or you could collapse the pinky. Right? I don't like it as much. Right? Then another D. It's the same note, but it's good to actually finish that idea there, and then you start over with the same note over here. Talk a little bit about that measure 13 through 16th. Not too difficult. Yeah, you start with that D coming from the measure before, the last note of measure 12. You're going to keep your pinky on the second string for that D sharp. Then let go. 1 and 2. Slide them over. Right? So you have 3 and 4 ready for this, right? So you're here. Then and that sets you up for what's coming up next, right? So think of this as belonging almost to the next measure, right? Where you're going to start your measure on measure 17 with your pinky, you're setting up a C major chord. And notice that I kept my 2 there on the D string to follow up with the chord, right? Right? And then something very similar as before. This time 4 is going to be not on the A bass for the C, but this time it's going to be on the D bass for the F. Notice how I turn my hand around, right? Very critical that you start thinking ahead as you move through that. Set it up, right? So you turn your hand around and you're more in a forward position, right? Remember the positions of the left hand: forward, backwards, neutral, right? So, and then it's just an easy matter of just going from that G7 of chord to a C major chord. Move 2 up, and then 1 is just grabbing the E right there. So you're already set up for a C major chord. And then in the score he marked this as being on the second string, but it really is on the third string, right? A little editorial mistake there. The whole purpose of that is so that you can remain with these 2 fingers in the same place, right? I'm talking about measure 19. Right? The open G and the C are on the same string. Just make sure that you pace yourself as you land there. Otherwise you can get a bad sound out of landing on the G string. And then It's still a C major chord. Still a C major chord, right? Right? So notice how I'm navigating from backwards position to forward position quite a bit. So that's part of the technique area of the etude, right? So we're moving on from 20 to 21. And then 1 and 2, 4 just slides out, right? You notice how beautiful this was set up in the music? Great composer, Carcassi, right? It's all set up. It just really rolls out of the left hand, right? So from here to this, and then back to this. 3 there for the G, and then that's going to bring you over here to here. 1 and 3, and finally resolving that dominant into a G major chord. Right? Better to grab that with 3 because of what's coming up. But let's just play through that. I'm starting on, the setup comes out of measure 20. Right? So you're going to move your second finger quite a bit on the second string, right? Tuck it in, move back out. I don't know that you need to use 4 there. I would use 3. And then this moves you over by 1 position on 3rd position. Again, the same thing. This time you grab the C sharp with 1 because of what's coming up. You're going to have to turn your hand around like this to grab the F sharp here, and then 3 and 4 are half stack on the 3rd and 1st string, right? Let go of the F sharp, you still keep the 2 voices up top. Right? Going back to that idea that things, when you're coming out of one chord and you have another chord, sometimes you actually have things that are similar, right? Over here you're just changing from an inversion to root position. This is beautiful, right? Right, so we're keeping the pinky there, going back to that same idea, right? But the 1 and 2 are moving around, right? And then it's almost as if 1 and 2 are trading frets, right? Right. All of this business coming out of 28. So you got switch to 1, turn your hand around, 2, right? 2 and 1 are going to turn around, bar on the 3rd, half bar on the 3rd fret, just slide 3 over. When you land here, I would say maybe not a bar when you land in 7th position. 3 moves over, and 2 grabs a G, right? So from C to B natural, right? From 1 F sharp to G, right? So no need to really make a bar there this time. And then you're gonna keep this disposition of the hand with 3 as you move in, right? You had this. 2 is gonna give way on that same D to 4 as you shift over, and you're half stacking F and D, and you have 2 now grabbing the 5th string, and 1 is going to give you your G sharp, right? Very nice, beautiful, dominant, inverted chord. 1 stays there, Notice how I just moved over, right? That's the piece. Have fun.